Welcome to PowerBoat Television and welcome to Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories. Right now we're standing on top of what's affectionately known as the Rock for obvious reasons. And this is right in the heart of Old Town. Now, back in the day, surrounding the Rock were all the shacks and shops and everything. Now, the new town is built behind you a little bit south. You can see some of the high-rises back there. All around us, though, is Yellowknife Bay. On that side is a little offshoot of Yellowknife Bay known as Back Bay. That's where the Great Slave Yacht Club is. We're gonna check out some boats there. And over here, you can see some of the houseboats. Now, they're beautiful, but they're a little contentious, apparently. I think they add character. Stopping here is a must and the perfect place to get your bearings. It doesn't take long to see that water is key around here. For fun and for business. For a collection of the best boats around, it's gotta be the Yacht Club, though some boats have clearly seen better days. Here we met up with some members and went out with Hack, who owns the largest private boat on the lake, a Carver 450 pilot house. As Hack took us on a harbor cruise, I chatted with Evan Walls, who's been involved with the club for more than 15 years and is a past Commodore.
The boating scene in Yellowknife I would describe as varied. There are multiple types of boating that one can enjoy. We've got a strong group of people that like to canoe, kayak, paddleboard, non-motorized watercraft. There's also a solid sailing community in the city, probably because of the size of the body of water that we're on and how far people sometimes have to go. And then, of course, there are every shape, size, and type of power boats. On that note, I will admit that I didn't think I would be on a 45-foot Carver sedan bridge on Great Slave Lake. You would not be alone in that. People don't necessarily think that you're going to find this type of boat or these many boats here. And when we get back to the club, you'll see, well, this boat is unique in that it's 45 feet. There are a lot of 30 and 35-foot boats at the club. Yeah, there's a lot of cruisers. A shorter season than down south a little bit, but you guys make up for it with all that extra daylight. Well, yeah, you know, I was actually thinking, how would that compare to other jurisdictions? We typically put our slips in the water. If we're lucky, we'll put them in the water May long weekend. Oh. And we usually pull them out Thanksgiving. That's pretty much bang on what a lot of people do down in southern Ontario. So last year we had 21 seasons of the slips being in the water. Now you can't get out on the lake until all of the ice leaves, which is usually the middle of June, but for the first 2 weeks, people can do day cruises out into the bay here. And as you point out, while we might have a shorter season, arguably, we make up for it because we have 24 hours of daylight in the summertime. Something I've learned about you Northerners, you don't mess around with that daylight. If it's up, you're up. It's hard to keep up. Yeah. If you're visiting, by the way. Somebody said you can sleep in the winter? Yeah. That's true.
And while it may seem odd, given there are very limited slips and services for boaters anywhere on the lake, these are a passionate bunch. The Yacht Club is one of only 3 marinas on the entire lake that anyone can tell me about, so you'd have to be passionate to make this giant and secluded body of water your boating backyard.
And just to give you an idea, Great Slave Lake is the 10th largest lake in the world. It is the deepest lake in North America. It's got depths of well over 2,000 feet in spots. Jeez. Yep. And I can attest to that. I was recently out on a trip and my Garmin GPS bottomed out at 2,472 feet. It's probably deeper than that. It was just what I went over at the time. Right. The Great Slave Lake measures about 200 kilometers, wide, and about 460 kilometers end to end.
That means heading off the docks here is like heading into the unknown every time. Because help will come if you get in trouble, but it may take a while.
When you leave here, you leave heavy. You leave fully provisioned for fuel, for food, for as long as you want to stay. The one exception is water. We don't have to bring water with us because we just take it right out of the lake. I love that. It's a pristine lake. When we went from Hay River over to the Mackenzie, we stopped in the middle, and Spencer said, yeah, he's like, have a glass. He's like, we got to do a toast. Like, really? He's like, you're not going to drink anything cleaner than this. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Yeah, we're very lucky that way.
Back at the dock, we took a little tour to check out the club, which is more than 30 years old and has 60 boats and about 100 members. And there's quite the collection here. Lots of fishing boats, and about a half dozen cruisers in the 32 to 35 foot range, including the Princess 35 flybridge that Evan owns, which is where we said our goodbyes so he could enjoy this beauty of a day with his family. Later in the show, we head out on a much smaller boat and get out of the city to experience some of the blissful solitude. Welcome back to Yellowknife, the capital of the Northwest Territories. And as such, it's the largest city here, with a population of about 20,000. It's modern, but with a rugged adventurer's spirit. The area really was opened up by bush pilots, and the pilot's monument atop the rock is a highlight. It's also practical, as there's a flashing light at the top of it to notify people and boaters nearby that there is float plane activity on the bay. It's a really neat place. On the one hand, downtown looks similar to a lot of small cities I've been to around Canada. And the geography is remarkably similar to where I fell in love with boating in central Ontario, other than the trees being smaller. But when you get out and away from the city, you really see the difference. The raw, rugged beauty and the tremendous solitude of the vast wilderness of the north. A great way to experience it is to go out with a fishing guide, someone who knows the bays and channels like the back of their hand. So, we met up with Greg Robertson of Bluefish Services on our last day in the Northwest Territories and headed out on his Lund 2075 Pro Guide with a 115 horsepower Evinrude E-Tech, with tiller handle no less.
So in this area, it's primarily pike fishing. Lake trout, 50, 60 miles away in the minimum now.
So when you're doing the tours, is it mostly pike or do you do a bit of everything?
Yeah, I mainly do like 4-hour tours. I go out maybe a max of 15 miles or so and either fish and then stop for something to eat after. It depends on what people want to do.
We cruise out of the bay past the houseboats. These are contentious because they don't pay taxes, so I'm told. But the colorful and large floating homes add some life to the bay in my mind.
How far are we going?
So we're going to go to Yellowknife Bay about 5 miles. Then I'll go left into the islands.
Past Detta or?
Yeah, we'll go past Detta into the islands, and we'll stop maybe about 10 miles out and try to catch some fish.
As we do the run south, we go past the First Nations community of Detta, population of about 210. To get here by road is 27 kilometers in the summer, or by ice road, it's only 6.5 kilometers in the winter.
Man, it's a nice day still. Once we shot south of Detta, you can see over my left shoulder, it has dropped a couple degrees and seems to be getting colder. And that's why. Big, wide open, Great Slave Lake, right there. That's a lot of water.
I'm glad I have a guide. There's no markings out here and very little in terms of distinct scenery. But it's far from monotonous or boring. It's almost zen-like in its beauty. I'd be able to soak it up a little bit better if I weren't starting to shiver.
Woo! Gonna have to cave and put the fleece on.
Fleece and my Lucky Lightning hat on, we set up along a small island.
All right, go for it.
Doesn't take long to catch lunch around here. And in the pristine water, it's open season. The Lucky Lightning hat strikes again. Heading further into the islands and farther from the city, you feel like you're a million miles away. Not another soul to be seen, just the wildlife, including a bald eagle perched high above our final fishing hole. And Baldy there was good luck. Hooked a big guy. But he spit the hook right at the boat.
Lost him.
So we head back for a secluded, but bear-free island and have a shore lunch with our freshly caught pike. Something I'd never actually tried eating, and usually people shy away from because of all the bones.
So what's the secret recipe?
Kind of developed it on my own, but got a little bit of flour and a little bit of cornmeal, a little bit of lemon pepper.
Man, is this some good eating.
Your TripAdvisor review will be 5-star. Greg, thanks, buddy.
Well, you're welcome.
Of course, ending with a toast is always a nice cap to a trip. And if you're gonna toast in Yellowknife, you'd be remiss not to visit the oldest restaurant in the Northwest Territories, the mining camp-style log cabin of the Wildcat Cafe, which dates back to the 1930s. Until next week, cheers.